Good morning, good evening, whatever time you are that you happen to be listening in. I want to introduce a good friend of mine. I'm Bob Moffat. My friend is Junji. Or how do you say it in Chinese?
葛军。
Okay, Gajwi. Okay, all right. And we've been friends for a number of years and have have known each other when Jen was in the States here, and and then it's really um, been fun to follow his adventures and how God has been using him in many different places. But I know that in your country, that coronavirus has really impacted the culture in a lot of ways and created a lot of difficulty. I was talking to somebody in in India earlier today, and they told me that more people have died from hunger since the virus started and the lockdown has occurred than have died from the virus. And so there are a lot of really, really hungry people, that the sequestering has impacted. And I know that that's happened in places all over the world. But, you know, tell me, from your perspective, um, what has been what are some of the major social problems and economic problems that have occurred in the country that you live in, and what would be some of the primary problems that you see or that you encounter?
I think thank you, Bob, for the opportunity to share here. I think that the major issue was it came in a sudden time. I'm sorry for the spreading out of the virus from China to many other countries, but it came in a sudden time for most of us, and so. The shock and then the fear, and we couldn't see the picture in the future. This is, I think, is the main problem, and of course, the social distancing and the people are scared to embrace each other, to shake hand, or even stay close to another person. This is really really shocking to us. Besides all these, the stress to the economic situation is also very imminent to many people. Many businesses had to close down, and people eventually had to look for new jobs, or they couldn't find the new jobs. Another issue in out of this situation is, the virus happened in one particular province or city first, and then eventually spread out to other places. So it caused the people from other provinces would have bias about people from that particular province. So
Mm-hmm.
so this kind of fear and bias, and eventually people start to fear each other. In no nobody. Particularly in March, after a lot of international students who were studying in Europe or in US, or in Australia, they decided to come back to the country, but then they were considered as a threat to existing, at least a temporary peaceful situation. They were considered as bad guys to enter into this still water. So there's another bias to people. So the social distancing eventually becomes a distance among people. That's really really bad.
Okay. How it, and I know you've done a lot of social work and reaching out to people in need and helped other people to do the same thing. what are some of the best ways? What are some of the principles that you have discovered that are really key to being able to have an effective outreach to those who are suffering?
I think this virus threat or crisis is a little bit different from other disasters we encountered in the past. So far, I would say there's no safe place. In the past, for other disasters, we we came in from outside as a helper to to the victims, but in this situation, no safe place. Everyone is victim. So we first need to overcome the fear inside ourselves.
Hmm.
We need to. It's easy to say be brave, but how to practice the bravery
Right,
is a big issue. Yeah,
right.
and we helped to trying to find the medical supplies like face masks or even glasses. We were trying to invent some new devices to help people like the security guards, delivery people. So this is what we call the serve the neighbors. Um, we it's we have a broader society to cover, but we have to start with a narrow neighborhood to serve. So this is not just
What
the
do you mean by
residential.
that? What do you mean
Um,
by rural neighborhood?
we we it's easier for us to think about the whole town, the whole city, but for church, for believers, followers of Christ, we need to start from where we are, the residential places. But in the past, when we say neighbors, we usually say this is the neighbor physically residing next to my home. But now we also see a more extended neighborhood, which means other people like the policemen, the grocery owners who had to open their grocery shop to the public, or the delivery person who took the courage to bring the masks to or alcohol the sanitizers to people. So these are the neighbors, extended neighbors to us. So we need to serve them.
Okay.
And also like you said, we are facing our threat of the virus, but actually there are many other issues besides virus, like the hunger in India, and also in our case, we see like seniors who are isolated at home. They have maybe other diseases before the virus, but because of the hospitals are being occupied, they couldn't get a treatment, or they couldn't get a medicine on
Hmm.
time. So these are also the people as a victim of this crisis, but not necessarily the virus victim. They are the collateral damage to the virus.
The collateral damage.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So
yeah.
as you look at that, what role does relationship play um, to deciding who my neighbor is?
Mm, uh, Definitely the relationship, particularly the trust, is very much needed. It's not just we are related, so we are related. It demands a certain level of trust. I being together and being struggling together for in this crisis is a way to build up a trust, because we are comrades in the same trench. We are not just outsider helpers. That's
Hmm.
really important. This would help. Sometimes not everyone can get a medical level mask. Every mask has its own lifetime, but when we trying to help a neighbor with our simple surgical mask, uh, it's not because the mask has the greatest quality in the world. It is because the trust to this neighbor that I can
Okay.
accept the help.
Right.
The same thing, some people couldn't go to the grocery store to buy vegetable or other supplies, so other people were helping. So they would leave the plastic bag with vegetable or potatoes outside the apartment. So this way, the other so the older will go downstairs to pick up the plastic bag. So this also demands certain relationship. I have the trust to this person, and then it's a mutual trusting relationship to among each other.
And that relationship builds the more you have. So by being a neighbor to the same person, somebody that you're going to see again and have the opportunity to relate to again, helps
Yeah,
build that trust and
yeah,
and neighborliness.
yeah. With the little relationship or a little trust in the beginning, and eventually build up into some work that we can do, and then because of this work we enhanced the relationship deeper, and then we can go deeper into each other's life. We can entrust others to do more things mutually. So
Right.
that's it's a growing cycle.
Okay. Can you can you give an example or two of how you've seen people be actually implement being a neighbor?
Um, one friend in my club found out message to demand help from the epicenter city. My club is far away from the center, and we have a little bit the relationship with the person. We got to know the person from internet, and but definitely we couldn't fly to the place or to help. And also a phone call may not help that much either. So we refer that person to another friend who lives within kilometers range to that needy family. So because this referral has certain initial trust, then my friend in that city brought a pack of masks and some vegetable to visit, but he couldn't
Mhm.
get in. So he left the bag outside to the security guard, and then the family pick up the bag. So they started to converse in the internet, and then
Mhm.
uh, so it's like the relationship was being borrowed, picked up by in the internet, and then with the little bag of vegetable, they got into a deeper level. Actually, we couldn't find the medicine, we couldn't find the ambulance for the patients, but it really brought the relief, emotion relief to the lady, and then eventually she was able to find some rescue for her father who
Mm.
was in deeper level of the virus impact, and then um, now she's strong, and she has a renewed relationship with my friend in that city. So I think this is it's a good example how the relationship could uh, be deepened through this help, through little activities like this.
That's a great idea. I mean, if you find that somebody that you can't reach out to, perhaps
Mm,
you know somebody who's close enough in proximity to be able
mm.
to take your place
Yeah.
and build that relationship.
Mm,
Yeah. So I think that one of the things, several things I've heard you say that in principles of being a neighbor, begin or are centered in relationship.
mm,
And that means, you look for people that you can have ongoing contact with and you choose that over the random, person that you might see. That doesn't mean you don't help people at random, but
Mm.
intentionally you try to focus on people that you could have an ongoing relationship with, and
Mm.
so neighbor is needs to be intentionally people that you can build a relationship with, and that doesn't exclude others. But
Mm.
if
Yeah.
you can be intentional about that, I think that's really
Yeah,
important.
you're right. And actually, I want to add on one thing. Sometimes we know the meaning of neighbor, which is someone next to me. We can see each other, say hi to each other. But there are others who, in today's lifestyle, they are next to us. They bring mails. They are security guards. Sometimes we just treat them like a machine. uh,
Yeah.
uh, we we I think in the crisis like this, we can be intentional to see them as human and
Mm-hmm.
as my neighbor. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's very important for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen my mailman more and more that way recently.
Mm,
As I realize he's risking every day,
mm,
you
yeah,
know, picking up things that could be contaminated,
mm,
and in order to provide that essential service to the community.
yeah.
And yeah, so well, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And
It's my pleasure. And I know your country is still in the deep struggle of this. I just wish and pray you will go through this, and also the relationship will be stronger than before
right,
in His grace.
amen. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Jim, so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
Okay, we'll end the interview there, and
Okay.